I braved the sweltering 40-degree heat to celebrate my fiancé's birthday. Little did I expect that Su Fei, his childhood friend 8 years his senior, had already prepared a birthday party for him in our future marital home. Su Fei carried herself like the lady of the house, while I felt like an intruder who had stumbled in uninvited. Can this marriage even go ahead? In the blazing summer heat, I endured 40-degree temperatures, setting off at 6 in the morning and navigating various hurdles until finally arriving at 6 in the evening at the home I was to share with my boyfriend, Han Jin. Yet the moment I stepped inside, I was showered with confetti. Happy birthday! The room was filled with candles, balloons, flowers, a cake. The atmosphere was fully set. Everyone inside was dressed in suits and elegant attire, their makeup flawless, chatting and laughing with effortless grace. The full-length mirror in the entrance hallway clearly reflected my disheveled appearance, greasy sweat trickling down my forehead, completely out of place in this refined setting. Even though this was supposed to be my future home, I had no idea why these people were even here. Xiaonan? I recognized the person who had sprayed me with confetti, one of Han Jin's friends, who seemed surprised by my sudden appearance. Just as I stood there, bewildered and unsure how to react to the room full of people, a figure in red emerged from the crowd. Sorry about that. We thought it was our Jin. We got the wrong person. You should have let us know you were coming back. The woman wore a red velvet gown that hugged her curves, swaying gracefully as she moved, impossible to miss. But something about her words didn't sit right with me. Since when did I need to announce my arrival to my own future home? Suppressing my irritation, I smoothed back the damp, sweaty strands of hair stuck to my forehead, took a deep breath and forced a smile. It's Arjin's birthday, so I thought I'd come back and surprise him. I didn't expect to run into this. Looks like the surprise is ruined. The woman was Han Jin's childhood friend, Su Fei, 8 years older. Their families had been close for generations, their relationship exceptionally strong. So strong that when Han Jin was born, Su Fei had even changed his nappies. Later, she went abroad for her master's degree, and upon returning, married into a well-matched family. Both sides were in business. Now, with her child in primary school, she worked in administration at our company. A position secured through connections. A cushy job with no real oversight. She came and went as she pleased, completely at ease. So, no matter how unhappy I was, I didn't dare show it openly. Huh? Didn't Ajin tell you? We arranged to celebrate his birthday at his new place tonight, sort of a last singles party before the wedding. Su Fei gave me a meaningful glance, as if to say, how could you, as his girlfriend, not know about something this important? My anger flared instantly. I really wanted to throw my suitcase at her and say, mind your own business. But I didn't dare, because my boyfriend genuinely hadn't mentioned it to me. Probably because he saw how busy I'd been lately and hadn't found the right moment. To ensure we could have a romantic honeymoon after the wedding, I'd been traveling frequently for work to wrap up projects. The wedding and marital home arrangements had mostly been handled by my boyfriend alone. Every time we video called, seeing the dark circles under his eyes made me feel even guiltier. That's why I'd rushed back to celebrate his birthday. My plan was to freshen up at the marital home first, then trick him into coming over. Instead, I'd become the unexpected guest. I couldn't help feeling a twinge of resentment toward my boyfriend. Just as the atmosphere grew tense, the sound of a key turning in the lock echoed behind me. Nan Nan? The star of the evening had finally arrived. I didn't miss the fleeting unease in my boyfriend's eyes, but I ignored it and walked over, linking my arm with his, forcing a smile. Happy birthday! My boyfriend's arrival eased some of the awkwardness hanging in the air. After tidying myself up a bit, he introduced me to some new friends I hadn't met before. I tried my best to act like the lady of the house, hoping to salvage the embarrassing impression I'd made when I first walked in. Even though my boyfriend kept saying that my presence tonight was his biggest surprise, I knew deep down that my surprise had actually been the biggest disruption. Nan Nan, are you upset? I'm really sorry, I had no idea you'd come back suddenly. If I'd known, I would never have agreed to this birthday party. Perhaps my ability to hide my emotions was poor, or maybe he simply felt guilty. During a lull in the festivities, Han Jin pulled me aside and apologized, his voice low. I couldn't help but feel a bitter laugh rise inside me. I didn't know whether to be happy that my boyfriend cared about my feelings or sad that he still didn't. Do you understand why I was upset? I've never considered myself an overly sensitive person, and I dislike playing guessing games in relationships. If there's a problem, it's better to talk it out, but how to bring it up is a delicate matter. You didn't even tell me about such a big thing as a birthday party. When Sister Sue mentioned it earlier, I was so embarrassed. People might think we're not close. Don't keep things from me like this again, okay? This was the gentlest way I could think to remind him. I am your fiancé, not someone who has to hear about everything from Sue Fei first. I knew my Nan loves me the most. I could clearly sense my boyfriend's relief as he wrapped his arms around me, whispering about how much he'd missed me lately, until my cheeks flushed with embarrassment. Under his intense gaze and those sharp, handsome features, I shamefully blushed. Oh, well, at least he listened. If there's anything that needs fixing, we can work on it slowly. Jin, come out here. You tell them, did I pick well or not? Just as we were about to enjoy a little more intimacy, Su Fei's sharp voice cut through from the living room, shattering the moment. Ahem, coming. My boyfriend coughed awkwardly, pushed me gently away, and hurried toward the living room. I followed, stamping my foot in frustration. When will these people leave? Su Fei was sitting on the sofa, beaming as she patted the cushions. Seeing us walk out one after the other, she stared at me for a moment before tilting her chin up triumphantly. Jin, everyone was just saying how comfortable this sofa is. Much better than the one you picked before, right? I specially had it imported from abroad. Cost me 80,000. Consider it a housewarming gift. Whether it was worth 80,000 or not, I didn't know. But I knew Su Fei was doing this on purpose. Because the previous sofa, the one I had chosen, was factory direct, costing 8,000. I thought it was great value for money. I refused to believe that, given how close she was to Han Jin, she didn't know I'd picked the old sofa. Yet she'd said it right in front of me. Yes, I was narrow-minded, small in my outlook, nothing compared to Su Fei, born into wealth and privilege. When it came to spending money, I was always careful, always trying to get the most bang for my buck. Perhaps the poorly concealed panic on my face pleased her, because she smiled faintly. But what makes me happiest is that Jin found such an outstanding wife in Zhao Nan. A sense of foreboding stirred inside me. Sure enough, the next moment, Zhao Nan has had it tough. She came from the countryside, worked her way up to a master's degree. Her family doesn't have much money, and she has a younger brother to support. When she first joined the company, I noticed she wore the same 2 outfits every day, never ate out, and her packed lunches didn't even have a shred of meat. She's still sharing a flat with others now. I told Jin to rent her a nicer place on her own, but she refused, so independent. Su Fei let out a long sigh, a look of relief on her face. Thankfully, it's Jin, no real family burdens, able to afford the marital home and all. You tell me, if she'd married someone else from out of town, well, housing prices here aren't as high as in first-tier cities, but they're not low either. If she had to support her whole family, life would be even harder. My mind buzzed. I dug my nails deep into the soft flesh of my index finger, using every ounce of strength to stop myself from fleeing right then and there. Multiple pairs of eyes scanned me up and down, surprise, disdain, contempt, exactly like the way Su Fei had once looked at me. When I joined the company, Su Fei was the one who handled my onboarding. My first impression of her was excellent, warm, cheerful, and incredibly easy to be around. Learning that I was new in town, a girl from out of town with no connections, she took the initiative to introduce me to local customs, office politics, and even invited me to her birthday party, encouraging me to broaden my social circle. That's when I found out Su Fei's family was extremely wealthy. For her, working was just a pastime. I felt a faint sense of inferiority, but also grateful for my luck in meeting such a wonderful older sister. It was at her birthday party that I met the love of my life, Han Jin. After Han Jin and I got together, I treated Su Fei like my own sister, until I accidentally discovered she'd thrown the wallet I made for her into the bin. How dare she give something so tacky as a gift? If it weren't for Jin, I wouldn't even bother with her. Her tone was disdainful, her expression cold. I fished out the brown wallet from the bin, the one I'd spent a week making, a replica of a designer brand. Earlier, I'd seen her post on social media that her wallet was broken. The original cost over 20,000, way beyond my budget, so I de-sourced materials and painstakingly recreated it from online images. My mind flashed back to that morning when she praised me for the wallet, calling me talented and saying it looked even better than the original. How stupid I was, I hadn't caught the subtext. No matter how well made, it was still a knockoff. What she wanted was the real thing. Call me overly sensitive or insecure, but I started deliberately keeping my distance from Sufei. When I couldn't avoid her, I pretended everything was fine, acting as I always had. I didn't want her to affect my relationship with Hanjin. At least when Hanjin received my tacky gifts, he always proudly posted photos on social media, showing them off. I secretly checked his posts once no audience restrictions. I couldn't help but wonder, with the darkest of suspicions, whether his enthusiasm was just an act. The vast gap between our family backgrounds was something I could never change. The only thing I could change was myself. I refused Hanjin's suggestion to meet his parents, throwing myself into opportunities, applying for prestigious projects to build up my portfolio. Just wait a little longer, I told myself. Wait until I've achieved something before meeting them. The only things I had going for me were my decent academic background and my position at a top-ranked firm in the industry. But in this third-tier city, that meant little to my boyfriend, who had a stable iron rice bowl job in the public sector. Thankfully, my hard work paid off. Through my supervisor's connections, I got involved in several key municipal architectural projects, which greatly strengthened my portfolio. Hanjin was even prouder, boasting to everyone about how my girlfriend worked on that building. Finally, I felt confident enough to visit his family. Hanjin's parents seemed satisfied with me. They included me in almost every family gathering, introducing me to relatives. Our engagement felt like a natural next step. Thinking of this, I regained a bit of confidence. I bit the tip of my tongue hard to calm myself down, then smiled, scanning the room full of people with varying expressions, and said self-deprecatingly, "Yeah, after all, I'm just a small-town striver. Limited talent, so I have to work extra hard. Take now, for example, I'm getting married next month, but I'm still out there overseeing projects. In this heat. Who would want to? But it has to be done." Nan. My boyfriend held my hand, his voice filled with concern. I stood up, took a stack of business cards from my bag, and handed them out with a smile. Even though Arjun's family is well off, once we're married, we'll have our own little family to think about. I need to work hard too. If any of you ever need interior design or renovation services, come to me. I may not be an expert in much else, but I know my stuff in this field. That's right. Nan worked on the design for the new museum in the city centre last year. If any of your friends need recommendations, make sure you point them her way. Hanjin, seemingly oblivious to the undercurrents between Sufei and me, enthusiastically promoted my services to everyone, his tone bursting with pride. It did soothe my frayed nerves a little. If Sufei wanted to make me feel insecure and humiliate me, then I'd show her openly. There's no shame in making money. With ready-made connections and my boyfriend's endorsement, I doubted they'd have the nerve not to come to me if they ever needed help. I shifted into client meeting mode, steering the conversation toward my expertise. Coincidentally, one of Sufei's friends was dealing with a related issue, and I offered a solution that satisfied her. By sharing case studies, I smoothly added everyone on social media. Once they scrolled through my posts later, they'd probably rethink the gold digger image Sufei had painted of me. After all, I'd always carefully curated my social media work. Life, relationships, all portraying a positive, upwardly mobile, constantly improving persona. Maybe it would even bring me some collaborations in the future. Sufei and Hanjin's social circles overlapped significantly. Years of friendship meant I, as someone who'd only been with Hanjin for 2 years, could never compare. Before, I'd always felt out of place in their world, so I avoided their gatherings, naively thinking a stable relationship was enough, and we could keep our social lives separate. Now, I wondered what stories Sufei had been spreading behind my back. This time, she just brought some friends over for a birthday party and nearly broke me. After marriage, the challenges would only increase. I had to stand my ground. Nan, Sister Kiao praised you to me, Said you're outstanding and I should treat you well. The way you were talking to them earlier, you were glowing. My boyfriend returned after seeing the guests off, grabbing my hands excitedly. You're exaggerating. They were just being polite. Don't take it too seriously. I secretly rejoiced but kept a calm, humble expression. It seemed my performance had been a success. After all, when they left, Su Fei's face was practically stiff with suppressed emotion. Delighted, I took her hand with earnest sincerity. Sister Su, I always knew you had my best interests at heart. Even introducing me to your network. Don't worry. If there's ever anything I can help you with in the future, I'll be there. But my good mood didn't last long. Because in the tumble dryer I found a white lace bra. Custom-made, with initials embroidered on it. Su Fei's. Absolutely unbelievable. Han Jin. I clutched the scrap of lace in my hand, my teeth gritted. Hearing the commotion, my boyfriend rushed out of the room and froze on the spot when he saw what I was holding. Clearly, he could also make out the initials printed on it. That? Nan. Maybe Sister Fei left it behind after washing it last week when she stayed over. Hearing this, my mind buzzed. I nearly swore out loud. She stayed over? My last shred of reason held me back. If something was really going on between them, how could Han Jin admit the overnight stay so casually? It was probably due to some other reason. Last week, one of Sister Fei's friends threw a themed party that went on really late. You know, she lives in a remote area, so it wasn't safe for her to go home alone late at night. She just asked if she could crash here for a night. Sorry, I forgot to mention it to you. If it wasn't safe, couldn't she have called someone to pick her up? I refused to believe her family couldn't have sent someone to get her. I didn't even need to ask. I knew she definitely slept in the master bedroom because it was the only room properly set up. We hadn't finished sorting the other rooms yet. I desperately wanted to throw the lacy little thing right at Han Jin's head. Have you lost your mind? This is our marital home. We haven't even slept here a few times ourselves. But I couldn't do that. The house was fully paid for by Han Jin's family. Strictly speaking, I had no claim to it. Even though it was our marital home. My pride wouldn't allow me to comfortably accuse my boyfriend of letting an outsider come and go freely in our new place. He'd likely think I was petty-minded and harbored dirty thoughts. Because that was Su Fei, not an outsider. I even suspected the lingerie was deliberately left behind by Su Fei to mess with me. She succeeded. Under my boyfriend's cautious gaze, I felt inexplicably irritable and disappointed. I didn't understand why he allowed Su Fei to trample over my boundaries again and again. Was it because I'd been too lenient? But aside from Su Fei, we were incredibly compatible and in sync in all other aspects. I simply didn't want an outsider to ruin our relationship. Every family has its own issues. Compared to my own complicated family background, Han Jin was truly a treasure bestowed upon me by heaven. He came from a harmonious, well-off family, was gentle and polite, tolerant of my sensitivity and insecurities, supportive of all my decisions. Even his family treated me like their own daughter. I couldn't give up such a promising future because of Su Fei. Nan, don't be angry. You finally came back and I've just been causing trouble. I tightened my grip on the lace, using all my strength to suppress the rising negativity. I let out a short laugh. What are you thinking? What relationship do Sister Su and I have? Why would I mind? I'm just worried that if your parents come over next time and find this, it'd be hard to explain. It wasn't a baseless concern. His parents also had a key to the house and sometimes came over to air it out. My boyfriend seemed surprised by my reaction. He paused for a moment, then relaxed. You're right. I was being too thoughtless. Next time, I'll just put in the effort to drive her home. Shouldn't have been lazy. There's going to be a next time. My blood pressure spiked again, but I had to continue brainwashing him with a tone of concern. Yeah, after all, Sister Su has her own family. Staying overnight at a male friend's place. I'm afraid it might affect her reputation if word gets out. Of course, I absolutely trust you both. I just worry others might not see it that way. Like her husband. The arm Han Jin had around me tensed. He was taken aback for a second, then laughed and explained, Don't worry about that. We've known her husband for years. He's always away on business, so he feels guilty towards Sister Fei. He even asked us friends to hang out with her more often. He definitely wouldn't overthink it. Oh, I see. That's good then. I awkwardly extricated myself from his embrace, my mood plummeting. No wonder Sufei was so brazen. Because literally no one was keeping her in check. Exhausted from the day's roller coaster, from anticipation to disappointment, completely lost any desire to spend the night with my boyfriend in the new home. I was afraid the master bedroom bed would feel tainted. I made up an excuse to go work overtime at the office. Deep down, I still didn't dare tell my boyfriend directly that I was angry that Sufei came and went freely in our marital home. She simply didn't take me, the future lady of the house, seriously. Right now? Displeasure was evident on my boyfriend's face. He frowned. It's almost 11. Can't it wait until tomorrow? You promised to celebrate my birthday with me. What's the meaning of this? I rubbed my throbbing temples and blurted out, Do you even need me to celebrate your birthday? I was the superfluous one, wasn't I? The air instantly froze. I was startled, bit my lip, grabbed my bag to leave, but my wrist was seized. So you are still angry, aren't you? I've already apologized. What more do you want? We finally get to see each other. Can we not ruin the mood over such a small thing? Perhaps because he'd been drinking, and I dampened his spirits. His tone was rather sharp. My heart clenched violently, and tears gushed out instantly. Because I'm insecure. I'm afraid I'm not good enough for you. Afraid of embarrassing you. Afraid everyone will think you made the wrong choice. Do you have any idea how scared I was facing them all alone before you arrived? All the grievances bottled up throughout the day erupted. I vented the deep-seated fears inside me hysterically. If you had told me earlier, I would have prepared properly instead of appearing before them so casually. I traveled all the way back from so far away today. I looked awful, it was so embarrassing. The violent emotional swings made me cry until I was convulsing. I felt like a complete joke tonight. This was the first time I had revealed such deep insecurity in front of my boyfriend. I had always carefully hidden my inferiority complex, working hard, living earnestly. When faced with things I didn't understand, I openly admitted my ignorance, humbly sought advice, and quietly absorbed the necessary nutrients from those around me to better myself. But confronted with my boyfriend's questioning and Sufei's successive blows, my defenses finally crumbled. Could the class gap truly never be bridged? None. Why have you never told me any of this? I was suddenly pulled into a tight embrace by my boyfriend. His solid chest gave me an unprecedented sense of security. I'm sorry. It's my fault for not noticing your feelings. His slender fingers gently brushed away the tears on my cheeks. His tone soft, as if handling a precious treasure. You know, my family and I have never cared about those things. From the beginning to the end, what I love is you. Of course, I believe my boyfriend and his family genuinely accepted me. Otherwise, we would have broken up long ago. But it was precisely their innocence that made my own calculations seem so despicable. Like right now, the moment I realized I'd lost control and said the wrong thing, I immediately thought of a remedy. I couldn't let myself act like a shrew, nor could I directly accuse Sufei of overstepping and making snide remarks. So I attributed everything, half-truthfully, to my own insecurity. For someone as usually strong and independent as me, showing rare vulnerability would only make my boyfriend cherish me more. I would use this outburst to make Hanjin love me more, value me more, and put me first. The rare argument rapidly heated up our relationship. We spent a romantic night in the marital home. Early the next morning, Hanjin drove me to work. Before getting out of the car, I suddenly threw myself at him and gave him a fierce kiss. I've requested to be taken off the project at the other location. From now on, I'll stay here until after the wedding, and then we'll go on our honeymoon together. Really? I nodded. The delight on his face made all the effort feel worth it, even though dropping this project will cost me a big chunk of my year-end bonus and affect my performance review. Such an uncost-effective thing would never have happened to me before. But relationships require effort from both sides. Perhaps I should trust him a bit more and allow myself to slow down, to properly enjoy life. Stay over tonight? Hanjin pinched my cheek suggestively. No, I'm working late. I'll go back to my own place. I smiled and used my index finger to stop his approaching lips. If we kept this up, I wouldn't make it to work today. Of course, the deeper reason was that we weren't married yet. It wasn't appropriate. Hanjin usually lived with his parents. If he started frequently having me stay overnight at the marital home, I was afraid it would affect his family's impression of me, making them think I was already acting like I owned the place before even marrying in. Stepping into the office, I quickly got into work mode, busy until 10 at night before finally finishing the handover tasks related to the project. I stretched, ready to head home. Passing by Su Fei's workstation, I noticed her computer was still on. A WeChat video call window suddenly popped up on the screen. The profile picture somewhat familiar. Huh? Curiosity prompted me to lean in. It was Han Jin's WeChat profile picture. The voice call from Su Fei's phone to Han Jin wasn't picked up, and the chat dialog box automatically popped up. I instinctively glanced at the content. I felt as if I'd been plunged into an ice cellar. Han Jin, don't be foolish. Do you really think Qin Shengnan is any good? She's just after your money, a girl from a small town, a schemer through and through. Only my feelings for you are genuine. If it weren't for my family situation back then, we would have been together long ago. Bang. The glass cut by my hand was knocked to the floor, shattering into pieces. My mind buzzed as if an atomic bomb had gone off. What did this mean? Could it be that the reason Su Fei targeted me so relentlessly was because she liked Han Jin? But wasn't she already married with a child so grown? How was that possible? Did Han Jin know? Why had he never mentioned it to me? A barrage of questions bombarded my brain. Trembling, I placed my hand on the mouse, intending to scroll up and see more of the chat history. The interface suddenly displayed a logged-out prompt. I frantically clicked the mouse, hoping to delay the WeChat logout, but of course it was useless. In just a second, Su Fei had logged out from the computer side on her end. Thud, I collapsed powerlessly into the chair, staring blankly at the WeChat login screen, wishing I could call my boyfriend immediately and demand an explanation. What exactly was his relationship with Su Fei? My finger hovered over Han Jin's phone number, rubbing it repeatedly. Finally mustering the courage to press it, I hung up abruptly just before the call connected. No, I couldn't act impulsively. What if there was nothing between them? My rash actions would only make my boyfriend think I was being unreasonable and harboring dirty thoughts. Even if Su Fei had feelings for Han Jin, it didn't mean Han Jin reciprocated. Otherwise, why would she be sending a message like that on WeChat? Strangely relieved, I hastily restored the workstation to its original state and went home. Ah, Nan, why is your hand covered in blood? My flatmate, Zhao Meng, hearing the noise, came out of her room and let out a scream. Ah! I looked up dazedly. Ouch! Only then did I notice a deep cut on the index finger of my right hand, blood steadily seeping out. Behind me, a long trail of red dots dripped onto the white ceramic tiles. Wah! Meng! I burst into loud sobs, stammeringly telling her about my accidental discovery in the office. The wedding was in just a month. I really didn't know what to do. You silly girl. What does it matter if they had something or not? You're the official girlfriend, the one approved by the parents. If that Su Fei really had what it takes, why didn't she marry him? She's just jealous of you. You absolutely must hold your ground. Don't do anything stupid. Right? I clutched Zhao Meng's hands like a lifeline. Right. Su Fei's looks, family background, which aspect didn't surpass mine? Even though she was 38 this year, she still looked like she was in her late 20s. Not to mention her occasional girlish demeanor. Though I disliked her, I had to admit I envied her fortunate life. If she and Han Jin really wanted to be together, even with the 8-year age gap, it wasn't impossible. Since they hadn't ended up together back then, and now Su Fei had her own family while Han Jin was about to marry me, it was even less likely anything was going on. Han Jin's genuine goodness toward me over these past 2 years was real. How could I doubt him because of a single out-of-context message fragment? The only thing I could be sure of was that Su Fei's feelings for Han Jin were definitely not simply those of childhood friendship. In that case, I couldn't allow Su Fei to remain in my and Han Jin's lives. I needed to think of a way to make her disappear on her own. I absolutely would not allow any mishaps at my wedding. Suppressing the unease in my heart, I fiercely wiped the tears from my face. The tissue scraped against the delicate skin around my eyes, causing a sharp sting. Early the next morning, I obtained the process details from the hotel and wedding planner, and, under the pretext of seeking advice on wedding details, Arranged to meet my boyfriend's mother alone. I'm sorry to trouble you at this time, Auntie. I was too busy before and didn't manage the wedding preparations. It's all been handled by Ajin. When I asked him about it yesterday, I realized he hadn't confirmed the details with you. Would you mind taking a look to make sure we haven't overlooked anything that might slight the guests? Han-jin's mother had held a leadership position for many years, carrying an aura of quiet authority. Honestly, I wasn't too keen on being alone with her. I always felt my little schemes were transparent in her eyes. You young people can decide for yourselves. We're old. Our tastes can't keep up with the times. Auntie Han flicked through the brochure expressionlessly non-committal. Oh, okay. Then we'll handle it ourselves. I pretended to breathe a sigh of relief and smiled. But with Sister Sue overseeing things, there shouldn't be any major issues. Jin told me it was all thanks to Sister Sue's help that he could finalize everything so quickly. I'll have to treat her to a nice meal later. Of course, my boyfriend had never said that to me. I was just judging based on previous conversations about wedding details that Su Fei had been involved. My goal was to test Auntie Han's attitude towards Su Fei. What's the meaning of involving an outsider in your own wedding? Jin is becoming more and more indiscreet. And you, indulging him. Fortunately, my gamble paid off. Auntie Han did not like Su Fei. Upon learning that the wedding and banquet were arranged by Su Fei, Auntie Han's face tightened. She directly took the list and started making changes, resulting in a style completely opposite to the previous one. For the next half-month, Su Fei completely vanished from my sight. She had resigned. I could vaguely guess that Auntie Han had probably done something behind the scenes. But what did that have to do with me? I was merely a junior seeking advice from an elder. Without Su Fei's interference, my relationship with Han Jin grew even better. I quickly integrated into his social circle, gradually overturning the negative image Su Fei had crafted for me in front of them. It was very uncomfortable, but I was trying hard to adapt. Nan, you're amazing. You can actually chat with them. I always feel so awkward sitting there, afraid of embarrassing How. I looked at the girl who suddenly struck up a conversation with me. She had delicate features, a petite figure, a face full of collagen, dressed in a white gown, resembling a delicate little white flower. I was momentarily speechless, unsure how to respond. Today's dinner was organized by one of Han Jin's childhood friends. The friend was getting married next week, and wanted to have a meal beforehand to introduce some close relatives and friends. The little white flower talking to me was the bride-to-be. Throughout the entire gathering, she had hardly said a word. Her initiative in approaching me was quite unexpected. Remembering the background my boyfriend had briefly given me before we came, I immediately understood. Because this girl, like me, was an ordinary person. The only difference was probably that she had just graduated young, beautiful, full of vitality. She probably thought that as fellow ordinary people, we would have more common topics and could empathize with each other. From what I knew, Han Jin's childhood friend was 2 years older than him, 32 this year. This little girl had just graduated. Absolutely unbelievable, an old cow eating tender grass. I smiled. It's all right. I only chat about things I know. Right now, they're talking about things I'm not interested in, so I just found a place to sit by myself. The little white flower seemed to have something difficult to say. She looked at me for a moment, then suddenly sat down beside me and whispered, "Does Ahao have many women on the outside? But no one tells me. Maybe they're afraid it'll affect the baby." Yes, the little white flower was also pregnant before marriage. Then, as if comforting herself, she continued, "But that's just how their circle is. As long as they don't bring them home, it's fine. Right?" I frowned. Han Jin is nothing like your playboy fiancé. Who are you seeking solidarity with here? You live your own life. As long as you feel it's good, that's what matters. Considering she was pregnant and the fiancé of Han Jin's childhood friend, I didn't want to embarrass her. I could only vaguely brush it off. But my mind recalled the tone and expression my boyfriend used when discussing this relationship. Who told Haozi to play around so recklessly in previous years? No decent girl from good families in our circle is willing to marry him. And with his age, his family is anxious for a grandchild. This current one just happened to come along at the right time. The disdain, the coldness, it chilled me. Was that also how I was initially positioned in the eyes of these people? I suddenly felt very fortunate that I met Hanjin only after starting work, having already witnessed the harsh realities of society. I wasn't dazzled by his conditions and rushed to tie him down. Instead, I waited until I had achievements before planning a future. If I had met Hanjin right after graduation, I'm not sure if I would have chosen the shortcut. The little white flower probably also realized I was different from her. After a few awkward attempts at conversation, she left. Before leaving, we exchanged contact information, and she insisted I must attend her wedding next week. On the day of the little white flower's wedding, I saw Su Fei, whom I hadn't seen in a long time. Dressed in a bright yellow gown, she moved familiarly among the guests, radiant and beaming. What rotten luck. Su Fei shot me a look that seemed half smiling, half sneering. I suspected she might have guessed I'd spoken against her to Auntie Han. I thought she might dig a pit for me, or make some snide remarks like before. But she did nothing. She greeted us, and as she passed by, I heard an almost imperceptible "TCH? Is she insane?" I turned around but only saw her alluring back retreating. Not far away, my boyfriend was waving at me from beside the wedding car. Afraid of delaying the auspicious hour, I jogged over, putting Su Fei's odd behavior aside. The little white flower wasn't a local, and had stayed in a hotel the night before. We joined the wedding party in the cars to fetch the bride from the hotel, to share in the joy and join the fun. When we arrived, 2 bridesmaids in grey cocktail dresses were already blocking the hotel room door, demanding red packets. Hanjin and I stood at the back of the crowd. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught some of the groomsmen behind the groom exchanging lewd smiles. A sense of foreboding rose within me. "Ah, what are you doing?" Before I could think further, sharp screams erupted from the front. The groomsmen I noticed had now rushed to the door, scooping up the 2 bridesmaids around their waists. Accompanied by raucous male laughter, more people crowded towards the center. Their faces showed undisguised excitement and thrill, as if they'd scored some big advantage. People kept pushing in and out. Through the gaps, I finally saw what was happening inside. A group of men were passing the 2 bridesmaids around the outer circle like parcels. I even saw a dark hand groping one of the bridesmaids brutally. The knee-length dresses couldn't conceal what was underneath. Flashes of white were visible. Before I could see more, the view was blocked by the crowd. My heart turned cold. I tightened my grip on my boyfriend's hand. "Ah, Jin, isn't this going too far?" "Don't worry, they know their limits. It's mainly to prevent the bridesmaids from demanding exorbitant red packets." So, Ahao and the others planned to take them by surprise from the start. Just to get the bride out quickly. That's all. Hanjin's tone was indifferent, as if he was already certain the bride's family would try to inflate prices during the bride-fetching ceremony. The little white flower's family hadn't brought many people. Seeing this scene, they were indeed intimidated. No one dared to ask for red packets anymore. Some, fearing trouble, were already urging those inside to open the door. The door opened and the crowd surged in with a roar. I deliberately hung back, scanning the surroundings. Finally, in a corner, I found the 2 disheveled bridesmaids, crying. And they call themselves wealthy? What terrible manners! I was about to go over and ask if they needed help when I heard one of the bridesmaids curse resentfully. I stopped. After all, I was on the groom's side. Approaching now might make them think I had ulterior motives too. As I was thinking, another panicked scream came from inside the room. "Oh no! The wedding shoes! We forgot to warn the people inside. They're just a bunch of thugs." The 2 bridesmaids helped each other up, staggering as they tried to push through the crowd, but the doorway was already jam-packed. Their slender frames couldn't squeeze through. "This way. You can go through the balcony." I pointed towards the balcony, urging them to climb through the window. Although my impression of the little white flower wasn't great, it didn't mean I could stand by and watch her bridesmaids suffer this. However, by the time we managed to force our way in, we happened to see one of the bridesmaids' skirts being yanked up. Black safety shorts were exposed to everyone's view. Perhaps she should be thankful she wore safety shorts. I clearly saw a look of disappointment flash across one man's face. "Come on, everyone. Keep looking. The wedding shoes must be hidden under the bridesmaids' skirts." The lewd laughter was nauseating. The little white flower was clearly terrified by the scene. Clinging tightly to another bridesmaid, afraid she'd be grabbed too. She kept shouting the location of the shoes, but no one was listening, because their goal was no longer to find the shoes. I immediately pushed through the crowd, found the shoes according to her directions, and suppressing my anger hurled them inside. OW. The heel struck the forehead of a man who was groping a bridesmaid. The farce finally ended. The crowd dispersed, leaving the room in disarray. The little white flower and the bridesmaids, red-eyed, were hurriedly fixing their appearances because the groom was urging outside. Afraid of missing the auspicious hour, I quietly retreated, planning to return to the wedding hotel with my boyfriend. Jin, what's up with your girlfriend? Ruining such a great atmosphere. If she can't take the fun, she shouldn't have come. When you get married, I'm going to pay you back double. Seeing my boyfriend standing in the corridor with the groom and others, I was about to go greet them when I overheard their complaints about me. My anger flared instantly. I stopped, wanting to hear my boyfriend's response. Don't be like that. Nan isn't like those other girls. If you mess with her, she might really break up with me on the spot. You better show some respect when the time comes. I'll treat you all to a meal in a few days to make up for it, okay? Even though my boyfriend was standing up for me, a sense of powerlessness washed over me. Subconsciously, Jin, like those other men, looked down on the little white flower. So he didn't see anything wrong with the earlier farce. It was all just for fun. I turned away quietly, pretending I hadn't heard anything, and went to the lobby to wait for my boyfriend to come down. No further incidents occurred. After the bride and bridesmaids tidied up, apart from slightly reddened eyes, there was almost no trace of the embarrassment from half an hour earlier. Well, the wedding had to go on, didn't it? What I didn't expect was that at the hotel, the little white flower suddenly pointed at me and asked me to accompany her to change into her main wedding gown. I was taken aback, confused, but followed her in. I didn't understand why she didn't ask her 4 bridesmaids but chose me instead. As soon as we entered the room, she asked the 4 bridesmaids to change in the next room, pulling me alone into the master bedroom. She pressed a room card into my hand. If it weren't for your help today, my best friend and I would have been done for. Only now did a trace of resentment finally show on the little white flower's face. Through gritted teeth, she said, "Looking down on me is one thing, but no matter how unpresentable I am still Wang Hao's properly wedded wife. How dare he treat me and my family and friends like this? As long as everyone's okay." I offered a few awkward words of comfort, only then noticing many red marks on the little white flower's arms, probably from being pinched earlier. No wonder she was so furious. A groom had completely trampled the bride's dignity underfoot. Nan, you're different from me. You deserve better. Before, I always thought you were aware of the situation between Jin and Su Fei, and just chose not to intervene. When I saw you last week, I found it strange. Today, I'm even more sure you must be the type who can't tolerate any betrayal. What are you talking about? My heart clenched violently. A subconscious voice told me the truth from the little white flower's mouth would be something I couldn't bear. I heard from Wang Hao that the reason Jin's family kept pushing him to get married was because he was waiting for Su Fei to get divorced. They've been entangled for years. Su Fei's husband is always away on business. People in their closer circle know about their affair. Jin's family knows too. Afraid of scandal, they pressured him to marry. Then he met you, and things got a bit better. Wang Hao even complained to me, saying he never thought someone could actually pull Jin out of it. You're lying. I pointed at the little white flower, my voice fierce but my body trembling uncontrollably. Yet, deep down I couldn't help but believe her, because the process of Jin and me getting together had been too smooth. The first time I met his parents, they gave me a large red packet, almost wanting to settle our marriage on the spot. There was none of the dissatisfaction over our mismatched backgrounds that I had imagined. I thought Jin had done a good job communicating beforehand, and by then I had some achievements, so his parents didn't object. If it was because of Su Fei, then everything made sense. Finding someone from a less privileged background was better than being involved with a woman engaged in an extramarital affair. You said it yourself. That was in the past. Maybe Jin thought it sounded bad and hid it from me. At least in these 2 years we've been together, his feelings have been genuine. Clutching at the last shred of hope in my heart, I still tried to the little white flower, Rubbish. If that were really the case, I wouldn't be saying this. The little white flower rolled her eyes. Last month, when you were on your business trip, right after the house was finished, Su Fei stayed over. Wang Hao even helped cover, saying it was a gathering. But when we left, only Han Jin and Su Fei were in the house. Only an idiot would believe nothing happened. Afraid I wouldn't believe her, she continued. More recently, a while ago, Han Jin's stepmother seemed to find out they weren't completely over, and went to see Su Fei. Su Fei asked Wang Hao to help arrange a meeting with Han Jin. And Han Jin went. Tell me, if nothing's going on between them, who would believe it? A chill shot from the soles of my feet straight to the top of my head. Dizziness overwhelmed me. My legs gave way, and I collapsed onto the floor, still unwilling to believe the truth the little white flower was telling me. I even suspected she might be jealous and deliberately trying to cause trouble for me. Do you have any proof? I weakly continued my rebuttal, like a dying fish futilely thrashing on a shallow shore. The proof is right in your hand. The little white flower looked at me with frustration. She told me the room was booked by Su Fei asking for their help. She would definitely arrange to meet Han Jin there tonight. She urged me to go stake out the place in advance and catch them in the act. Then demand hefty compensation. They must make it up to you. These two have been playing you for a fool. I'm already beyond saving. But you can't fall into the same trap. They're all the same. Trash. Urgent knocking on the door interrupted our conversation. It was the wedding planner urge. Perhaps because my face looked too awful, the little white flower patted my shoulder sympathetically before rushing out to get her makeup touched up. How ironic. Just hours ago, I pitied her for being looked down upon by the groom's side. Now, I was the joke. My phone kept buzzing. It was Han Jin calling. Seeing I didn't answer, he sent a few messages, asking if I was done. The ceremony was about to start. Plop. A transparent drop fell onto my phone screen. I wiped it forcefully, instantly covering the entire screen with fine droplets. Taking a deep, shuddering breath, I got up and went to the bathroom to fix my makeup in the mirror. Before I had concrete evidence, I had to stay calm. I absolutely could not, under any circumstances, lose my composure. Deep down, I still held a sliver of hope for Han Jin. I refused to believe the bits and pieces of the past 2 years were all a lie. I returned to Han Jin's side with a bright smile, following him to greet wedding guests, striving to maintain my best appearance, ensuring not a single flaw could be found. After the wedding, Han Jin said he'd take me home first. He had to stay to help attend to the guests and would be back very late. My heart was already half frozen. Then you should go. I can go back by myself. It's not some remote place. I'll just take a taxi. Considerate and sensible. I shooed him back inside. Stepping out of the hotel, I turned a corner. Immediately used the room card to enter through a side entrance and went upstairs. Swipe card, open door. A huge floor-to-ceiling window came into view, the city lights blazing outside. Would Han Jin and Su Fei really come here tonight? Ding dong. The doorbell suddenly rang. I jumped in fright, scrambling under the bed, using the bedsheet to hide my shape. Damn it. I casually inserted the room card into the slot when I entered. I hoped the person outside wouldn't notice anything amiss. I bit my lip hard, my heart pounding wildly. The next second, the door opened. White stiletto heels appeared in my line of sight. Su Fei. Jin? Are you here? Through the gap, I saw Su Fei kick off her heels and walk barefoot back and forth on the soft carpet. Beep, the door opened again. A pair of brown leather shoes came into view. They were the birthday gift I gave Han Jin. I'd recognized them even turned to ashes. I felt as if plunged into an ice cellar. He really came. Fei, I don't think we have anything to talk about. Nan is already suspicious of our relationship. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gone to my mother behind my back. I don't want it to affect our wedding. No. You promised me you'd wait for me. If my family's business hadn't hit trouble back then, I wouldn't have married that useless man for the money. Have you forgotten what you promised me when I gave you my first time? You said you'd wait for me forever. And you told me you'd divorce as soon as you had the child. But you didn't. Su Fei, you can't be so selfish, expecting me to stay in this nameless, statusless relationship forever. I'm a man too. I have my pride. That's why I found Qin Shengnan for you. An outsider, no background, a family that favors sons over daughters. Even if she finds out about us after marriage, she won't make a big scene. Wasn't that why you pursued her in the first place? Because she seemed easy to control. But how could you actually fall in love with her? I gasped, covering my mouth in disbelief. Could it be that even our love story was a carefully orchestrated trap? Yes, I did fall in love with Nan Nan. She might not have your background, but she's positive, optimistic, driven. I feel comfortable with her. With her, for the first time, I feel valued. She always puts me first, carefully nurturing our relationship. I see in her the way I used to be with you. I don't want to betray such a wonderful girl. How utterly ironic. Such an affectionate declaration was saturated with lies from beginning to end. A heart-wrenching pain made it hard to breathe. I bit down on my finger with all my might, using every ounce of strength to stay silent. My vision blurred. I felt my nerves trembling uncontrollably from head to toe, one shudder after another. One last time, okay? Once you're married, we'll go back to being just friends. Su Fei seemed to have calmed down, her voice choked, sounding pitiful and wronged. Pale feet slowly approached the brown leather shoes. Soon, a light yellow dress landed in front of me, followed by a white shirt. Grey trousers, ... One last time. The man picked up the woman, his words gritted out. The mattress above me dipped. The transparent floor-to-ceiling window displayed their sordid act on the bed in all its clarity. Under the bed, my heart turned to ashes. Expressionlessly, I tapped the record button on my phone. My heart was already dead. They didn't linger in the room for long, probably afraid their prolonged joint absence would raise suspicion. Once finished, they left. Stiffly, I crawled out from under the bed. The smell in the air hadn't yet dissipated. My stomach churned. Ugh. I rushed straight to the bathroom and vomited until the world went dark, until threads of blood seeped into my throat before finally stopping. So filthy. I looked at my embarrassed and awkward reflection in the mirror, a trace of confusion in my eyes. Should I expose all this? Or pretend nothing happened, and continue being the happiest bride-to-be? I admit, I yearned to cross social classes, change my destiny, and marriage was the fastest shortcut. Moreover, I had already gained the approval of Han Jin's entire family, along with Han Jin's love and guilt. With the Han family's resources, my career would also get a tremendous boost. The future looked promising. I believed that once I married him, life wouldn't be bad. Memories of my time with Han Jin flashed through my mind. Perhaps after marriage he would cut ties with Su Fei. Perhaps, under the cloak of marriage, they would continue their affair. But I could no longer love him with my whole heart as before. When a marriage is entirely filled with benefit, exploitation, suspicion, can it still be considered a normal relationship? The reflection in the mirror gradually cleared. No, this is not the life I want. Why should I entrust my destiny to a marriage I know might fail? Home is my final bottom line. This wedding, I won't go through with it. But I needed to think carefully about how to cancel the wedding. At the very least, on the surface, I couldn't give anyone a reason to fault me. I returned to my place in a daze, my mind racing. The current situation was beyond what I could handle alone. I needed allies. The next day, my younger brother back in our hometown called. Big sis, I've transferred 150,000 to your account. Use it for your dowry. Don't worry, Mom and Dad don't know about this money. I saved it up myself. Please don't let it slip. Even though brother-in-law's family doesn't ask for anything from us, I can't let you marry into their family empty-handed. On the phone, my brother Xiaoguang chattered on about recent happenings at home. Xiaoguang. I finally couldn't hold back and burst into loud sobs. My relationship with my parents wasn't good. From as early as I could remember, I knew they dreamed of having a son. Even my name was simple and straightforward. Qin Shengnan. Give birth to a boy. After I became an adult, I changed it to a homophone myself. But my brother's name carried great expectations. Qin Guangyao. Bring glory to the ancestors. When we were young, our parents were busy working at the factory. I practically raised Xiaoguang myself. Our sibling bond was very strong. The year I got into a prestigious university, my family said they had no money and wanted me to go work. Xiaoguang stole money from home, scraped together the tuition, and personally sent me to the bus station. Big sis, I'm just not cut out for studying. You're different. Your future will go much further than mine. Go. Far. Far away. Never come back. I'll handle things at home. In the future, I'll take care of you. Back then, looking at this boy just 2 years younger than me, still childish, I wept bitterly. University. Postgraduate studies, I never went home once. But our sibling connection never broke. I worked part-time to pay my tuition and living expenses. If I had extra, I'd send some to Xiaoguang. Xiaoguang learned car repair back home. Borrowed some money from friends. Partnered with someone to open a garage. Life was going quite smoothly for him. After graduation, I found a job I liked. Found love. Just when I thought everything was getting better and better, fate played this cruel joke on me. I told Xiaoguang about utter embarrassed and awkward. I desperately needed someone to pull me out of this abyss of despair. Xiaoguang's reaction was the same as mine when I first learned the truth. He wanted to rush over and tear Han Jin and Su Fei to pieces. I stopped him. The Han family's local connections were not something an ordinary office worker like me could compare with. If I cancelled the wedding because I discovered this scandal, word would get out, and it would only reflect badly on me. Su Fei's husband, they wouldn't let a scandal spread either. In the end, the only one who'd suffer would be me. To vent momentary anger at the expense of long-term future benefits, such a poor cost-benefit move was not my style. So, if the wedding was to be cancelled, I had to absolve myself completely. I told Xiaoguang to bring our parents over from our hometown early. When Han Jin found out, he very enthusiastically arranged the first meeting between both sets of parents. Previously, fearing my parents' potential for causing trouble, Xiaoguang and I had always prevented the families from meeting. Xiaoguang even specifically called Han Jin to explain our family's special circumstances, afraid Han Jin and his family might misunderstand me as having poor character. This time, I wanted them to cause trouble. As expected, right after meeting, my father directly demanded a bride price of 1 million. Raising such a daughter wasn't easy. Asking for 1 million isn't too much. I think it's too little. My mother chimed in beside him, full of righteous indignation. Dad? I stood up, looking shocked, my face a mask of shame and anger. The bride price and dowry had been discussed with Han Jin long ago, just a formality. We'd settled on 100,000, and I'd added dowry of 100,000 myself, about the local average. Han Jin initially thought it was too little, and wanted to give more. I refused because I couldn't match it with a larger dowry. Call me overly sensitive or having excessive self-esteem, but I didn't want the groom's side to think I was greedy, demanding an exorbitant bride price. I believed I could earn that money back myself eventually. But my parents didn't see it that way. Before, when they couldn't meet or get contact info, it was fine. Now, finally meeting the future in-laws. Of course they had to negotiate the price. I watched as the expressions on Han Jin's parents' faces grew darker. Xiaoguang's acting was amazing. On one hand, he feigned angry embarrassment, accusing our parents of insatiable greed. On the other, he worried his sister would be looked down upon by her in-laws, saying all sorts of good things on my behalf. As for me, my job was just to cry. Naturally, the dinner ended on a sour note. Ah, Jin, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let my parents meet your family. I knew it. They promised me before they wouldn't talk nonsense. It's all my fault. Back home, I cried while apologizing to Han Jin on the phone, sounding full of self-blame and guilt. Are your aunt and uncle very angry? Do they regret letting you marry me? I knew very well that tonight's meeting would definitely lower my standing in the eyes of Han Jin and his family. So afterwards, I proactively and actively tried to recover, carefully and cautiously probed. Every step showed my emphasis for this relationship, making Han Jin firmly believe my heart and eyes were full of him. How could I possibly be silently planning to leave behind his back? Naturally, the loss of my ID card and household register certainly couldn't be my doing. It was my bizarre parents, dissatisfied with the bride price, who secretly hid them to pressure the groom's family for money. The night before we were supposed to register our marriage, I cried heart-wrenchingly, as if my guts were torn apart. Even fainted once. Cried until Han Jin couldn't bear to blame my carelessness. Then I wiped my tears and continued communicating with the wedding planner and hotel, ensuring the most perfect results. Finally, I personally called Su Fei, inviting her to definitely attend my wedding. Sister Su, although we had some misunderstandings before, the fact that Han Jin and I met and have come this far is all thanks to you making the connection. If you don't come, Han Jin will blame me. Between the lines, the message I conveyed to Su Fei was, Han Jin wants you to come. I'm under pressure, and had to invite you personally, giving you a way to back down gracefully. I also wasn't worried she'd check with Han Jin, because Han Jin genuinely didn't want her there. The closer the wedding date, the more he didn't dare slip up. But how could the main event proceed without the leading lady present? Finally, the day of my wedding with Han Jin arrived. Fetching the bride, serving tea to the elders, leaving the house, everything went smoothly. There was none of the awkward situation from the Little White Flower's wedding. Probably Han Jin had given the word. As expected, I saw Su Fei in the bride-fetching entourage, dressed in a bright red cheongsam, bright and charming. Anyone who didn't know might have thought she was the bride. I glanced at Han Jin standing beside me out of the corner of my eye. Though his expression remained normal, I detected a momentary stiffness in his muscles. Sister Su, I'm so glad you could come. Before Han Jin could react, I smiled and went forward, stuffing the bag containing the gift money from Xiao Meng's hands into Su Fei's. Sis, can you hold on to this for me? All the gift money for Arjin and me is inside. The bridesmaids don't know everyone, and I'm afraid someone might give a red packet later and we'd miss it. Su Fei probably didn't expect me to trust her so much. She instinctively looked at Han Jin. Ahem. Then let's leave it with Sister Fei. Han Jin avoided Su Fei's gaze and tightened his grip on my hand. Nan, we need to hurry to the hotel. You still need to change into your main wedding gown. Perhaps Han Jin's attitude stimulated Su Fei. She suddenly curved her lips into a smile, looking at me radiantly. Nan, don't worry. Sis will definitely take good care of it for you. Jin and I have so many years of feelings. All right. Nan, time to go. Han Jin's face turned cold, and without another word, he pulled me towards the wedding car, probably afraid Su Fei would go crazy and say something she shouldn't. I pretended not to notice the strange atmosphere between them, wearing a smile, looking every bit the shy bride-to-be. Before getting in the car, I gave Xiaoguang, who was following behind, a meaningful look. When I arrived at the wedding banquet hotel and came out after changing into my gown, I just saw Su Fei surrounded by guests, overwhelmed collecting gift money. Xiaoguang nodded at me from not far away. My heart in suspense finally settled a bit. Then I lifted my skirt and jogged over, one side, scolding Xiaoguang outside the crowd. Xiaoguang, what's going on? How could you leave Sister Su to handle this alone? Is that acceptable? Oof sis, my mistake. I had a bad stomach this morning. Just went to find the restroom. Didn't expect so many people to come over in such a short time. Sorry. Xiaoguang bowed and scraped apologetically to Su Fei. On such a joyous day, with so many people watching, no matter how displeased Su Fei was, she couldn't make a scene. With a huff, she shoved the bag of gift money back into my hands and left. Scanning the area, I saw Han Jin chatting with guests not far away. I went over and mingled for a while. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, nudged him. Do you have your phone? I forgot what the master of ceremonies told me about the process yesterday. Quick, let's check so we don't embarrass ourselves later. I had sent all the bridesmaids away to where they couldn't be seen, and I couldn't carry my phone on me, so I had to ask Han Jin for his. You're too nervous. Han Jin looked at me amusedly, pulled his phone from his pocket, and the next second, his expression changed drastically. I curled my lips slightly, sounding anxious. What is it? Let me see. While leaning over to look at the screen, Han Jin quickly tapped the screen a couple of times and showed me a large image. For the next 10 minutes he was restless. Finally, about 20 minutes before the wedding ceremony was scheduled to start, Han Jin said he'd left the wedding rings in the suite. I nodded, telling him to go quickly, that I'd take good care of the guests for him. Watching his retreating back as he jogged away, a sarcastic smile appeared on my face. Right then, the master of ceremonies ran over. Miss Chin, the equipment is all set. Shall we begin? Of course. I walked onto the stage alone, in my white wedding dress. The guests below unanimously focused their gazes on me. To say I wasn't nervous was a lie. My palm holding the microphone was slick with sweat. But I still wore the smile I had practiced hundreds of times. I secretly prepared a surprise for Arjun. Everyone, keep it a secret for me. I signaled to the master of ceremonies. The large screen behind me began playing a video. It was the bits and pieces from the 2 years Hanjin and I had been together. I was often away on projects, making it inconvenient to return. He would take leave or use his days off to travel long distances, finding all sorts of ways to come see me. Airplane tickets, high-speed rail tickets, the stubs filled a thick box, all carefully saved by me. I had long considered Hanjin my life partner. I had a dedicated photo album storing snapshots from every one of our dates. I spent a week printing all the photos, making them into postcards, writing down the stories behind each picture. While organizing these, my emotions broke down again. I once wanted to give up. At least during those 2 years, I had genuinely felt what it was like to be loved. That this love was full of calculate from the very beginning. And I couldn't deceive myself, pretending nothing had happened. I loved Hanjin, but I loved myself more. The video played to the part where I booked a hotel room 2 days in advance, decorating the scene with friends. The tone was warm and touching. Arjun, thank you for your love and effort over these 2 years. Today, let me give you a surprise. At the end of the video, I looked into the camera. Affectionate confession. Off camera, my breathing grew rapid. I unconsciously tightened my grip on the microphone. The scene shifts, switching to a live feed inside the room. Su Fei's back appeared on screen. Murmurs started rising from the audience. Su Fei, we agreed last time to part on good terms. Why are you still threatening me? Are you only satisfied when you've ruined my wedding? Hanjin's furious voice rang out. The entire hall erupted in an uproar. Hanjin's mother immediately stood up and hurried towards the backstage area, probably to shut off the equipment. Useless. I'd already had Zhao Meng lock the backstage door from the inside. No one was allowed in until the drama was over. I won't agree. You promised me that getting married was just to explain to your parents that you'd still love me most. And then? You actually want to leave? You're dreaming. Su Fei's hysterical roar, everything that should and shouldn't be said, was exposed under the camera. She even spilled the beans about their secret meeting at the Little White Flower's wedding. A pleasant surprise. I timed it perfectly, clutching my chest, retreating step by step. The microphone fell from my hand, revealing the incredulous expression I had practiced over and over. Nothing was more devastating for a bride than to discover on her wedding day that her partner had been cheating, carrying on an affair with a so-called childhood friend. Tears welling in my eyes, I opened my mouth but, overcome by grief, couldn't utter a word. Hanjin's parents panicked. One side ordering someone to handle the equipment, one side trying to rush onto the stage to explain to me. They were stopped by my parents. These pampered city folks were no match for coarse people who had done farm work all their lives. They were thoroughly subdued, forced to endure my parents' crazy output, unable to refute because they were in the wrong. As for me, under everyone's sympathetic gazes, trembling, I picked up the fallen microphone and pressed the remote control I'd been clutching in my palm. On the screen, the dim room suddenly sparkled with tiny lights. On both sides were the surprises I had meticulously prepared for Hanjin memories galore. The 2 protagonists stood frozen in place. It seemed as if they had realized something. Hanjin, we're done. I activated the microphone's voice function and spoke into it, word by word, through gritted teeth. The wedding became a farce. I escaped the banquet venue, heartbroken and devastated, escorted by family and friends. On the way back, my phone vibrated wildly calls and messages from Hanjin. I turned it off directly. Xiaoguang answered Hanjin's call and, following my instructions, cursed him out before blocking him. Everything cleaned up. Back home, making sure no outsiders were around, I confirmed with Xiaoguang again if we tied up all loose ends. Don't worry, sis. They'll absolutely never suspect us. They'll probably just think they were unlucky. I breathed a sigh of relief and collapsed powerlessly into a chair. I had deliberately handed the gift money bag to Su Fei, then had Xiaoguang note those guests delivering gifts, find a way steering them towards Su Fei. In the confusion, he swiped Su Fei's phone, used it to text Hanjin the room number, and threatened that if he didn't come, photos from that night would be sent to me. As for the photos, of course I sent them to Xiaoguang. Just use the airdrop function. It was just a photo of the messy bedsheet afterwards, but it was enough for Han Jin's imagination. After Su Fei left, Zhao Meng found a hotel staff member, asked them to slip a note to Su Fei, arranging a meeting in the room. The note was in handwriting I imitated Han Jin's. Su Fei would definitely go. When the two realized everything had been recorded, their first reaction would be to rush back to the venue. Zhao Meng took that opportunity to go to the room, find that note, and destroy it. After such a big incident at the wedding, most normal people would need a good while to recover. Even my boss called me, tactfully asking if I needed time off to rest. I refused. The next day, with swollen eyes, I went straight to the office. I wanted everyone to know that Han Jin was the one who wronged me, and I was just a pitiful woman from an ordinary background, with no backing, fooled by the man. I thought after yesterday's events, Han Jin would be too ashamed to see me for a while. I didn't expect that after work, when I came out of the office building, I'd see Han Jin leaning against a car door, looking haggard. Nan. Looking at the man's unshaven appearance, my heart couldn't help but twitch. What are you doing here? We have nothing to talk about. My face turned cold as I prepared to leave, but my wrist was seized tightly. Nan, I was wrong. I shouldn't have hidden it from you. Su Fei and I ended things long ago. She's the one who kept clinging to me. You're the only one in my heart. I only love you. Can we start over? Ended things? I laughed in anger, shaking off his hand. Ended things and still got into bed? What? Did she hold a knife to your throat and force you? Then go report her. Even now, he was still making excuses, utterly unwilling to admit his own fault. So being with me wronged you, huh? The true love. You had no choice but to sleep with, marry, and have children with a woman you don't love. No, it's not like that. Even though I did approach you with an agenda at first, I truly fell in love with you later. Nan, I was wrong. I had been trying hard to control my emotions, wanting to break up decently. Facts prove that when real feelings are involved, that's just nonsense. Hearing Han Jin continue to quibble, all the accumulated grievance and anger of the past days erupted completely. Han Jin, you're just a coward. You couldn't give Su Fei a promise, and you couldn't give me one either. Stringing both along. Sounds good you love me? If you really loved me, how could you sleep with another woman before our wedding? I was truly blind, treating such rubbish like treasure. Han Jin still hadn't given up on me, sending flowers, afternoon tea, gifts, asking friends of all sorts to relay messages, even spend money, and give it to me for free projects. Colleagues in the office who originally sympathized with me, and scolded him gradually softened their tone under the sugar-coated bullets. Some even came to persuade me, saying maybe I should let it go. As long as he settled down after marriage, it would be fine. Han Jin's conditions were truly something I was clinging to. I treated all such remarks as if I didn't hear them. I focused on preparing for the East China region new market development project a month later. It was a new team directly seconded from various branch offices by headquarters. Currently, only my supervisor knew about this. From the moment I decided to break up with Han Jin, I was already preparing to leave this place. No matter how flawless the wedding plan was, once they came to their senses someday, even without evidence, they'd suspect me. By then, the humiliated, furious Han and Su families would definitely take revenge. I had to leave here as soon as possible. Anyway, for someone like me without a real hometown, anywhere was the same. On the day I left, only Zhao Meng and Xiaoguan came to see me off at the airport. No one knew that once I left, I might never come back. I'll really miss you. Zhao Meng held me for a long time, reluctant to part. You must keep in touch often. Big sis, take care over there. If you need money, tell me. When I have time, I'll come visit you. Xiaoguang, afraid something might happen to me, had stayed here to take care of me all this time. Once I left, he planned to return to our hometown too. I nodded heavily, my eyes moist, but a long-absent fighting spirit burned in my heart. I threw myself wholeheartedly into the new project, working day and night. The whole mess with Han Jin seemed like a thing of the distant past. Zhao Meng occasionally mentioned updates about them, Like how Han Jin and Su Fei completely fell out after I left. Like how Auntie Han was everywhere asked someone to give Han Jin reintroduce the object. But because of Su Fei, no decent girl from their circle was willing. Those from ordinary families didn't match up to my conditions. And Han Jin wasn't interested in meeting them. Su Fei's husband was suing her for divorce, fighting for child custody. In a fit of anger, Su Fei directly exposed her husband was impotent, and the child was from test tube. I was somewhat surprised, then suddenly understood. No wonder Su Fei had been in entanglement with Han Jin for so many years. Unconsciously, my birthday arrived. I bought myself a small cake, planning to eat it, and then continue working overtime on the project. An unfamiliar number called right at midnight. I hesitated but answered. "Happy birthday, Nan Nan." It was Han Jin. From his voice, he'd had quite a bit to drink. "Thank you." I faintly accepted his blessing. "Nan Nan, do you hate me that much? To avoid me, you'd rather give up everything here and start over in another unfamiliar environment?" Perhaps emboldened by alcohol, Han Jin's voice was full of resentment and indignation, seemingly complain about my cold-heartedness and ruthlessness. "Han Jin, you're wrong. It wasn't for you." I suddenly found that his anger and sadness seemed unable to affect me anymore. My heart felt utterly calm, and I could even patiently explain. Mostly, I was just annoyed. I wanted to completely extinguish the unrealistic hopes Han Jin still harbored for me. My previous achievements were good, but that was it. Resources were limited. It was hard for me to climb higher. Now there's an opportunity before me. I have no reason to give up it. Han Jin, I thought you understood me. Understood my love and ambition for my career. I was never someone content with mediocrity. My experiences from childhood told me that destiny must be held in my own hands. It's just that before, for Han Jin, for our feelings, I chose to slow my pace, to take care of our little home first. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. So long I thought he'd passed out drunk, and was about to hang up. "Nan Nan, is it really true that we can't go back?" I hung up directly. That was my answer.